Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we'll be talking about one of the less popular game mechanics, and that's blueprints. So, for those of you who are new to the game, what are blueprints? Well, once you unlock a ship from the tech tree and purchase it, it is stock. And you can improve the ship, and you should improve the ship, by using blueprints. You find that in the upgrade section. The ships have different upgrade areas or groups, I guess. So in a very simple ship like this tier 3 cruiser here, you can upgrade the hull. As you can see, that gives you additional hit points. You can upgrade the main guns, which gives it more damage. And you can upgrade the fire control, which gives it more range. And for that you need to use blueprints. Now, you can actually see the blueprints that you have if you head over to the warehouse, which is that little, it's that little icon with the house with the 3 little boxes in it. You see, I don't think you can actually see where I'm tapping at. And there is the blueprint section, and there you find the blueprints. And blueprints come in 5 tiers. These are covering the 2 of the respective tiers on the tech tree. So 1 star is for tier 1 and 2, 2 star is for 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. The higher the tier of the ship, the more blueprints it needs. Because while it can look quite deceiving. So if you're looking here and you say, okay, I need 1 blueprint for the hull to upgrade it, and some silver obviously, because nothing comes for free, to upgrade it to that. I can do that. Okay, there it goes. And then I need 2 blueprints and 3 blueprints until I'm completely upgraded. So in this case, I had to spend 6 blueprints to get to the hull fully upgraded. So going back there to the blueprints, you tend to have a lot of them in the lower tiers hanging around just because you don't need as many. Whereas in higher tiers, you have significantly larger needs for blueprints, which makes specifically the 4 star and 5 star, so the purples and the golden ones, relatively valuable. And here you can see all the different upgrade groups or upgrade types that you can have. You've got the hulls, you've got fighters, AA defense, you've got fire control, main guns, secondary guns, torpedoes, dive bombers, and torpedo bombers. So these are all the possible things that you can upgrade. Obviously, not every ship gets every group. This means that some groups are more in demand than others. Specifically, hull, AA, fire control probably, and these 3 are sort of the ones that you're going to need for most ships. I mean, carriers, you're not really going to be needing fire control, potentially. Could do without, but for every other ship, these are the ones that you're really going to need. And then if you have a gunboat that gets the battleships that have secondaries, you use the secondaries, but not really anywhere else. So that one you tend to have quite an awful lot of torpedoes, only for things that actually have torpedoes. And you can see that sort of reflected here in the numbers. This obviously being the press account, I get provided blueprints, but you can see it in the numbers that I'm running reasonably low on hulls, air defense, fire control, and main guns, whereas everything else is still quite abundant, just because you don't need it as many times. So where do you get blueprints? Okay, why do you want to do this? Can you just not do it? Yes, you can, but your ship's going to be significantly weaker against others that have used this. So you get more. In this case, you get more hit points, and we're starting out with, let's look at the main battery AP damage. Right, we're starting out with 350, and if we're upgrading that all the way, now we're at 380. So that's a 10% increase. And that's not necessarily 10% increase in alpha damage. It's not necessarily something you want to leave on the ground. The same way, you need to, these elite bonus that I always keep talking about, you need to upgrade your ship completely. So you need to do this to get here. Otherwise you can't, which gives you then additional bonuses. Now, in lower tiers, it's not such a huge thing, but you also don't have an awful lot of blueprints. So now that we've established that blueprints and research, or what it's called, research, so the upgrading of the ship is quite beneficial, where do you get them? Well, you get them from a variety of things, but primarily through those crates here. So you can get 4 of these crates per day, and this is bound to ship XP that you've earned through battles. So simply by playing the game, you get 4 of these crates a day. And there are 3 types of containers. There's the gunboat blueprint container, which I don't think we can actually see what's in there, but it's going to be everything that is not torpedoes and not planes. You've got the torpedo ship container, which gets that, but also with torpedo tubes mixed in. And you get the carrier blueprints, which are going to be I don't think it's just carriers. It's just carrier, just the plane upgrades, but also things that carriers need, like hull upgrades. I generally go for the gunboat container. Simple reason being what I said earlier, that torpedoes, I usually have enough, unless you're, say, a destroyer main and you almost play exclusively destroyers and you're running low on torpedoes. I tend to have enough for carriers, but then again, I'm also not a huge carrier player. So for general purpose, the first one is usually the best choice, and you can actually open more than one, but we'll just open one for now. And as you can see, a container contains 2 blueprints. I think they are completely random in terms of the level that you get, but right now I got a 5-star secondary and a 4-star hull blueprint, which is significantly more useful. How else can we get blueprints? Well, you can get yourself more containers. So you can either, I think you can watch ads to refresh the to refresh these containers, and you can also, if you want to, use the light crate, because the light crate, while it doesn't give you blueprints outright, it does have a 11% chance of giving you a container. Given that this bugger costs 25,000 silver, it's probably not a sustainable way of doing it, but it depends how much silver you've got laying around and how much you're willing to throw out on the off chance of getting another container, which contains 2 blueprints, which are random, so you don't quite know what you're getting. There are a couple more, and I don't think I can actually do this. No, not here. I don't think I can do this here because I'm on a press account. So I may have to quickly switch over to my personal account. Actually, we'll do that in a minute. We'll look there last. But there are 2 more ways that I'm aware of that you can get yourself blueprints. Sometimes there are 3 ways, actually. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Our main weapons are... where were we? Crates. So occasionally there are crates like... not this one. This one only gives commanders. This one, yeah, for example, so the heavy crate, so the gold crates generally, they do have a chance of giving you blueprints. So that thing could give you, where are the, yeah, it's a relatively low chance. It's like 2%-ish that you get one of the, that you get a 5-pack of blueprints, although the packs for the 4-star blueprints are a little bit better. So that's another way of doing it. You can also combine blueprints. So again, if we're going back here, actually no, we need to find ourselves something else that has not been actually upgraded. Let's look over here, because this is a tier 10 ship, and as you can see, it has 7 levels of upgrades, which means we're starting at 1, but it gets really expensive. I haven't done the math, but I think it's definitely over 100 blueprints that you need to fully upgrade a ship here. So it's a lot. It's a significant investment. You do see this little button here next to the upgrade, which is called Blueprint Research. So what you can do is you can combine blueprints. So if you spend a not insignificant amount of silver and a not insignificant amount of lower tier blueprints, you can make higher tier blueprints. So for example, for 5,000 silver, I could take 3 4-star blueprints and turn it into one 5-star blueprint, which is costly, because if I wanted 100 5-star blueprints, I'd have to drown out 300 4-star blueprints. Now you could say, well, I've got all these lower tier blueprints. Can't I just, combine them up higher? Yes, you can, but the 3-to-1 rule applies. So if you want to if you want to create, let's say, 3-star blueprints out of 1-star blueprint, you first got to go to 2-star blueprints, which costs you 3, and then do that same thing again here. So very quickly you are running extremely high numbers of blueprints for lower tiers to go up. It's a measure of, I would generally not really use it for the 5 stars. You can if you've got a decent amount of 4 stars and you don't really need them. But the 4 stars are for tier 7 and 8, which is a quite popular and common tier. And I'd be hesitant to use those. Where I sort of mainly see it is around like 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 maybe. 3 to 4 I'd even already be hesitant to use this. Also because the silver investment is not insignificant if you're doing that. Now you can go the other way. And you're like, oh, well, I can just break them down and then I get lots of them if I need them, right? Not quite, because the separation of blueprints only nets you a 1-to-1, not a 1-to-3. So no, you can't undo that or do it the way back. So be careful with this. But this is one way of spending silver, which is a free in-game resource, to get yourself more blueprints at the cost of other blueprints that you may not be needing. Right. So before we move on and I look at the final way of getting blueprints, what if can you avoid using blueprints? So could you say, for example, I don't know, let's put the tier 9s in here as well, just or something. So could you say, okay, I've unlocked the Rhone, the tier 9 German heavy cruiser, and I would like to not waste my blueprints because she uses the same category of blueprints as the Hindenburg at tier 10, and I'm gonna need those blueprints. Yes, you can, but I've actually tried this on my personal account with the Izumo, and it was painful. So what I had tried was to not first I tried not use any at all. The main problem that you're having is, well, especially on a battleship, was the hull and the fire control, because you don't have the range. What you can often skimp at is things like air defense, right? So you could argue that on the Rhone you don't really need the air defense. You could even say, and you play a bit more higher risk and you forego the hull upgrades, and you're just going to do main guns, torpedoes, and fire control. Fire control is one of those that's really, really difficult to skimp on because range is just so important in higher tiers, but especially for this ship. But you could argue that you say this is your compromise, right? You're not using the hull upgrades, you're not going for the elite bonus, and you're just sort of biting the bullet for the grind. And as soon as you have enough free XP and you just skip over, or you do it, but in hard mode basically. So it's possible to do, especially for the blueprints like hull and fire control that you tend to run out of reasonably quickly. Especially hull is just atrocious. So that's an option you can take, and just make the call, right? So for a battleship, hull upgrade's probably kind of more important at tier 9. For a destroyer, maybe not so much. Maybe you can get away without it, especially if it's a torpedo boat destroyer. You don't really need the hull upgrades that much if you're playing stealth most of the time. So the initial instinct is to always upgrade your ship fully, but maybe you don't need to. So I'll be switching over to my personal account quickly to show you the last way of getting blueprints, at least that I'm aware of. Oh, hang on. Nope. There's still one thing I need to mention. Not here, because I'm not in a fleet, and I can't be, because it's a press account. But you may have spotted, if the eagle-eyed amongst you have spotted these things. Universal blueprints. Now, I'm not entirely certain where you can get them. Probably from events or something. I don't know. But blueprints just tend to show up as rewards for stuff. Blitz Pass is probably another one. There might be blueprints in the Blitz Pass. Well, there are containers in the Blitz Pass, so that's something. Yeah, it's containers. So you get containers. You also get blueprints, right? Look, tier 1 and tier 2 secondary gun blueprints. one of the most useless blueprint in the game. Because I don't think, except for the Mikasa, that there is anything in the game that has secondary gun batteries in tier 1 and 2. But we've got it in the Blitz Pass and it's free resources. You can always sell them. I'm not sure if you were aware of that, but you can theoretically sell blueprints. So if you say, okay, I'm never going to use, I don't play carriers at all. I'm never going to use them. So you could sell them, and they like you get a bit of money for it. And if it's a blueprint that you actually really don't need, like for example, you decide you're never going to play carriers, or you never really need these that much lower tier blueprints, like those secondary useful secondary gun blueprints from tier 1, then yes, maybe you can just go and sell them. But now I'll switch over and I'll show you the last way of getting blueprints. So the last way of getting blueprints that I'm aware of is in your fleet, where you can contribute oil, which is what you get out of missions, to get fleet medallions. And then there is the fleet shop, which allows you to purchase blueprints. So as you can see right here, I can purchase myself some AA blueprints. Not going to get the dive bombers because, carriers, unless I'm running out of them. And there are a couple of secondaries, you'll probably have enough of those as well. But yeah, that's another option to keep an eye out in the fleet shop. You can actually buy some blueprints, and the shop cycles every now and then you get new blueprints that you can then purchase. So all in all, blueprints, yes, they are useful, valuable resource, scarce resource, and especially some types more so than others. So not using all your blueprints is going to put you quite at a disadvantage. So if you want to keep a ship, it's definitely worth doing the research to fully upgrade the ship. If you're just grinding across the ship and you are short on blueprints, it's a choice. Especially in lower tiers, you could decide either to just not use them, or not use all kinds or all groups of upgrades, or just free XP over it, and then you don't have to spend it. By the way, if you sell a ship and you repurchase it, you don't have to use blueprints again to upgrade it. So that remains. So it's like if you happen to sell a ship and then you buy it again, you can reset the elite bonus that way. I think that's one way to reset the elite bonus without spending gold. But the blueprints you don't have to do again. So just something to be aware of. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers it, and hopefully answers some of the questions that I've had around how does this whole blueprint mechanic work. And that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.